So let's see what tactics I'm going to be using next. Hello and welcome to Spin the Wheel, a brand new series on the Total Carp YouTube channel, where each episode we're going to be out with different anglers at different venues where they're going to be trying to catch on tactics determined by the Wheel of Fortune. So I'll be kicking off the series, and today we're at Skylark Lakes in Cambridgeshire, which is a venue that I've not even seen before, let alone fished. However, I have had a good walk around this morning, and thankfully I've seen quite a few fish, so I've got lots of different options. So let's crack on, spin the Wheel of Fortune and find out what hand I've been dealt, what sort of tactic I'll be starting off this session using. Single hook baits it is, and that's a great option because I've actually found quite a few fish in a bay, and single hook baits will be a perfect option for trying to get a quick bite. It's all pretty shallow along that margin. Oh yeah, there you can just see a couple have just drifted around the back side of that bush. Yeah mate, they're still on it. Game on. So I've got my rig box here, which is currently full of knackered old rigs, so I'm probably going to have to tie a new one up, unless one of these is an unused one, is sharp enough. And that's pretty blunt, I'll just pop that off there. So I can't actually see any fish out there at the moment. It seems that they've sort of drifted off a little bit, and this is probably a great opportunity to get the rods out so that I'm not disturbing the fish whilst they're there. I've got little tiny 1.5 ounce leads on, and they're just on lead clips, little Ronnie rigs, all really simple stuff, and the idea being that I'm causing as least disturbance as possible. I'm just going to try and plop them out there as close as I can, one tight to that bush and then the other one a little bit further off and further along the tree line, and hopefully that'll produce a quick bite. Right, well, those two rods went out absolutely fine, and literally just as I was finished getting the bobbins set, a fish actually crashed out there in that sort of central bowl area towards where that swan is. So that's as much as I need to get that third rod set up and flick another single hook bait out in that zone. Right, I'm just going to cast this one right to where I saw that show. That was the same fish. Well, that was far from ideal. We hadn't seen anything for quite a while there, and just so I was sort of thinking it wasn't going to happen, that left-hander whacked round, and pretty much as quickly as I was on it and starting to pull back to try and get away from that snag, the hook pulled. So yeah, it's not a great start, but hopefully there'll be another opportunity to come. I think the best bet for now, with it being such a shallow area of the lake, is just to leave this spot as it is. But on the brighter side, just before I had the bite, we'd actually seen a number of shows out over there along that reed line and down that margin. So I'm going to wind these rods in and go take a look at that, because that looks like it's going to be my best option for now. Right, well, I'm definitely making a move. Having seen those fish, I think I'm just going to take the bare essentials round. Just my 3 rods, net, buzzers, and the bushwhacker as well, because I've got a bit of a plan. I'll just leave everything else around here for now, so I might be back around here later. But fingers crossed, this will be another quick bite. Well, I've given it a couple of hours and unfortunately nothing happened. So I'm going to get all my stuff wrapped up, head round to where I saw some fish earlier today, and hopefully there's still signs of fish around there. But one thing I know is there's no point sitting around fishing with single hook baits where there aren't any carp. So I might come back here tomorrow, because they definitely loved it in this bay during the day and at least in the mornings. But yeah, I'm going to head off down there and see if I can find something. Oh yeah, there's one down there. Definitely fish down here. The carp literally feeding right here. It's only small though, but there's only one of them, so. Right, so I think my best bet is going to be to fish from that swim, fish a rod to this bush, and try and fish a rod somewhere along this reed bed. But to be honest, with all the overhanging willows, it's going to be quite hard to do. But I'll just have to give it a go and see what I can see what I can make of the situation. Right, so the plan that I've come up with is that because there's too much of an overhang coming out from where the spot is under there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick a bare lead over onto that bank. It's just short sort of grass and weeds and stuff, and then I'm going to go around and just walk along the edge of the bank, just walk along that bit of undergrowth, collect my lead, put the rig on, and with the bushwhacker I'm going to ship it along the margin like I did last time, whilst keeping a bit of tension on my line from this end. Once I get it over the spot, just drop it in place, and so it should be easy enough really, if all things go well. Beautiful. Oh, well, he's out of danger. I've got one welly on, one trainer on. And I say he's out of danger, there's all these pads down here. He almost wiped out me with the rod. I was really hoping that he'd go right out into open water, but he just ploughed through those reeds and then tried to go through all the snags as well. So I really had to clamp down. But I think we're good. Come on, come on. In the nets. Oh, it's nice to get off the mark. Lovely. Well, there you go, proper plump little one, probably an upper double. So that single hook bait's ticked off, so it's now time to spin the wheel again to find out what my next tactic's going to be. There you go, it's time to spin the wheel again. So let's see what tactics I'm going to be using next. Mystery box, don't have a clue what it is, but I guess we'll soon find out. Joe? Oh, God. That's a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be, based on Joe's ridiculous exaggeration. So, oh, that's not too bad. I mean, there's next to nothing in the box. Cheers, Joan. But we have classic pepper army or fake pepper army, some sweet corn, and Spam. So yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Right, back to the drawing boards. better get that rod in. Right, I need to get this last rod wound in because I've had a couple of savage liners, and the last thing I want now, maybe not the last thing, but something that I don't want to happen now is I don't want to have another fish on that single hook bait and waste the potential chance of catching on the contents of the mystery box. So we'll get that quickly skipped in now, and I'll be swapping it over onto that, probably the pepperami and a bit of sweet corn. So there you go, that's the setup I used for my single hook bait approach, which caught that nice plump mirror. Standard lead clip with a 3-ounce lead on. That gave me just enough weight to whack it over there to those reeds. Ronnie rig with a fluorocarbon boom, a nice medium curve hook on there, and a little 12mm yellow pineapple goo infused pop-up. They've really done the damage for me over the last couple of springs, so I've got loads of confidence in those little hook baits. However, that's the end of that. I'm gonna have to change over now because I'm onto the mystery box. So I'll get this all changed over and get the rods back out there. So that's the rig that I've decided to use. It's the rig that I use for my wafter sort of presentations and bottom baits and stuff. And I've just got a bit of pepperami on the end. To be honest, out of all the baits that are in there, this is the only real option for hook baits. Sweet corn's just going to fall off. Lunch and meat, again, it's pretty soft. And you're not allowed to use artificial baits here, so while I might use some fake corn on another venue with some of the sweet corn, that's just not an option here, so I'm going to have to fish the little pepperami hook baits on all 3 rods, I think, by the looks of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip up a little bit of pepperami to just put into a PVA bag. So I put just a pinch of sweet corn in the spoon, and then I've got a little bit of meat, pepperami, in a PVA bag, and then a nice little hook bait. Fingers crossed, that'll do a bite. Well, unfortunately, it's not good news. I lost one last night, not long after getting the rods back out. I expected that it was going to be that snag rod, but it was actually the same rod that I had that fish on, just on a single bit of pepperami flung out into the same sort of area. And once again, the bite came literally 15-20 minutes after putting it out there. Started gaining on it, but once again it tried to plough through the reeds, and I just had to keep that pressure on so that it didn't get to the snag, and unfortunately the hook pulled. After that, had a series of really savage liners, some of them to the point where I was actually picking up the rod, because obviously you can't sit around and wait. If the if the bobbin pulls up tight and the rod tip starts bending round, you can't give it a sort of a second chance. You can't give it a chance to sort of make its way into the reeds and the snags. But yeah, nothing again. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised to have woken up this morning without any action. But probably after about 10 or 11 at night, once it's properly once darkness had properly fallen, it just all sort of died a death really. Started to see a couple show out in open water, but other than that, not really anything else to report. This morning that sun came up over the horizon and beamed straight across to this reed bed, and I made sure to recast that same rod again just to make sure that it went out perfectly, because that was cast out in the dark. So that's out there sitting pretty now, and I'd expect with that sun that this bank of reeds and the snag and everything, with it getting that full sun, is that's going to be like a magnet to those carp. So I think for now I'm going to sit tight, but depending on what happens, it might be a case of looking back in that other bay, because another guy has been fishing opposite as well, and with that pressure I'm not sure how the fish are going to react. So it's going to be just a case of playing it by ear really. But hopefully those fish will get back along that reed line and there'll be another chance. Right, well, I've just seen one show out there after having not really seen anything all morning. So I just wound that right hand rod in, which was just sort of fished off that bank. And I'm just going to whack it out as a single hook bait out to where that showed. So hopefully that'll make a difference. Out of the danger zone. And he's absolutely ripping it. Whilst he's out there, better grab my net. Oh, it's just under it. Come on. Come on, the pepper army. Yes. Second one in the bag. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Happy days. Well, I can't quite believe that. Just as we were about to sort out that other fish, this left-hand rod fished up against the snag, absolutely hooped round. Managed to get there just in time, really pile on that pressure, and the fish literally flapped out of the water just right on the edge of the snag. And proper mental scrap. And finally went in the net, and it's a proper nice one, a real nice, by the looks of it, mid-20 common. Certainly bigger than the other one that's in the other net. So yeah, 2 fish in really a short space of time. However, the only downside is that I've now had 2 carp on the pepper army, which means that it's not actually an addition to my spin the wheel. However, I can't complain too much because that's a real nice fish. So I think we'll just get these 2 fish sorted, get some picks, spin that wheel again because I've still got a couple of hours left, and maybe there's another chance of another one on a new tactic. £19 3 ounce, that'll do. Oh, he's got a proper strange growth on the end of his nose there. It's almost like he's got a 18mm boilie stuck on his nose. I'll spin him around so you can see the nice side. Lovely and clean on that side. So there you go, just over £19, proper angry common, which was caught on that pepper army. Sealing another tactic for the challenge. Happy days, but we've got a much bigger one to have a look at too, so we'll get this guy slipped back and take a look at that one. £28.4. Well, how about that? Another proper angry common, but this time a nice chunk. £28 4 ounce, properly made up with him. As I said, it doesn't add to my tally in terms of spin the wheel, but what a magnificent fish to have on a feature. Proper chuffed. So there you go, mystery box was another successful tactic, leaving me solid bag, zig and the Boilie approach. Now, solid bags are great and they'll probably work in this sort of situation, but they're always, for me, I find them a bit of a faff, so not too bad an option. Zig, I can't really zig fish in the situation where I am, so that's going to mean moving swims. And I've seen some fish showing out in open water, so that's not too bad, but like I say, that'll involve moving swims. Boilie approach, however, is probably the best option here if I'm lucky enough to get it, because I can fish how I've been fishing and how I've been getting bites with just sort of a small scatter of boilies over the top. So fingers crossed I get that one. So now it's just time to spin the Wheel of Fortune, I guess. What a result. Right, well, whilst I've got no rods in the water, I've quickly popped round to this other bay. I'm just going to chuck a few boilies in here and there just to see if there's any sort of reaction and give me another opportunity in case I don't have a bite down there. Like I say, I've still got a few hours left to catch maybe another fish on the Boilie approach. Oh yeah, there's definitely some carp back in this bay again. Fair few of them as well. So that's definitely an option for later. What I'll do is I'll just trickle a few more boilies in around here. Similar sort of spots to what I was fishing yesterday. And then hopefully, if nothing happens up there, we'll come back around here for the last hour. I literally want just enough so that they're sort of browsing the area but not feeding hard in one place. So that effectively I'm fishing like I was with singles, but those carp are actively moving around looking for those boilies. Well, that's gone out there bang on. Not bothering fishing to wraps and stuff. I just did a few practice casts to get into the zone last night, and I just put a bit of marker elastic on. I'm not fishing really accurately on a particular spot. I'm just fishing out in that general zone. It doesn't really matter where it lands because it's all just shallow, sort of reasonably soft bottom. So as long as I get the rig to land in about the right place, I'm pretty happy. So there's no need for all wrapping sticks and stuff. I've just got a bit of elastic on there. Right, well that's 2 rods out there. They're both on the same rig I had those other fish on, but this time with 18mm wafters, which would just sort of match those baits that I was throwing out there. So now it's time to get that final rod, the one that was fished to the snag, and that one I'll go with a bit more of a sort of broken up boilie approach. So fingers crossed we'll get one more before the end of the challenge. Well, we've got about an hour until the end of the challenge, so I think I'm going to stay put where I am here. I've had a liner, so I'm pretty confident that they're out in the area. So it's really just a waiting game, hoping that one of those fish pick up one of those hook baits. And then I can get that third tactic ticked off the challenge. Well, that's the end of the challenge, and just in time too, because it's just started raining. It's time to get off now, but I ended up with 3 fish. I had the first one on the single hook baits, then I had those 2 on the mystery box. Unfortunately, the boilie only approach didn't produce anything this time round, but it's been a great session overall, finishing off with that lovely 28-pound Colin. So it's on to the next contestant to see how they fare.
With Matt being our first contestant on Spin the Wheel, he put in a great effort which saw him land 3 fish and tick off 2 tactics. However, it does leave the door wide open for someone to take that top spot.